Patience is often the most difficult part of fitness. I'm getting discouraged or frustrated or disappointed. And honestly, of course, this stuff takes so much time, it's annoying. Kind of going hand in hand with how consistency plus time equals progress is the next thing that I find myself saying all the time in my coaching. And that is that patience is often the most difficult part of fitness. And that's with any sort of fitness goal, whether that's just trying to lose fat or trying to gain muscle. All of this stuff, all of fitness takes time, and oftentimes that patience piece is the most difficult part. A lot of fitness is pretty simple and straightforward, but being able to be patient enough to wait is hard. And we live in this world of free 2-day shipping and Amazon, and I could get on my phone and I could order up my favorite delivery and it would be here within the hour. That's just insane. So we live in this world of fast shipping, instant gratification, I want it and I want it now. And thanks to technology, we usually get a lot of things we want now pretty close to now. That just doesn't apply to fitness. There is no technological breakthrough, no silver bullet, no magic pill that is going to speed up the process of any sort of fitness goal. Again, be that fat loss or gaining muscle. And honestly, gaining muscle is more time consuming, more painstakingly long than shaving off fat. We are so used to getting what we want when we want it. And we're almost like Veruca Salt, right?
Don't care how, I want it now.
When she's singing that she wants it now.
Don't care how, I want it now.
She's a bad egg. But we all have that tendency because that's the nature of our lives these days. So when we get to a fitness goal, when we get to a point where we're focused on fitness and we have this goal that we want and we want it now, but it doesn't work like that, it can be really frustrating. It can be really discouraging. It can be really disappointing because we want to make progress. It's obviously perfectly fine, and that patience part of it is often so much harder than the nuts and bolts of the program, nuts and bolts of the training program, nuts and bolts of the nutrition plan, nuts and bolts of getting your sleep, drinking enough water. Those small healthful habits, while it's never easy to be perfect with all your healthy habits, most of them are pretty straightforward and simple. The hardest part of it all is just being able to keep it up, being able to be patient enough, being able to be consistent and give it enough time so that the progress happens. The body never changes on our timetables. Maybe we have a goal like, hey, my cousin's getting married and I want to look great at that wedding because I'm not getting married, or whatever it is, vacation. You've got whatever goal you've got, and any sort of smart goal should have some sort of, it should be time bound. So it makes complete sense to have a date of when you want to hit a certain goal. That's great. But the problem is, what we want, what the ideal is, doesn't always work out to be how reality plays out. And that'll lead to a lot of frustration, potentially. So if we have a schedule upon which we're hoping or expecting to achieve our goals, whether that's gaining lean muscle or losing fat, we are setting ourselves up for discouragement, for disappointment, for frustration, because our bodies simply won't change on our schedules. And that is a lame reality, but a real thing. We're not going to be able to dictate how quickly our bodies lose weight or gain muscle. We can control the bits and pieces of the process. We can control what foods we're eating, what our training programs look like, how much sleep we get, how much water we're drinking, our habits, our behaviors. We can control a lot of things, but the outcomes, the progress that we want to see with the goal, we do not directly control how quickly those results will come. We cannot control how quickly the results will come. And it's at that point, that's where patience really comes into play. We have to be patient as we are doing the sometimes tedious, sometimes boring day-to-day things that we know are going to eventually lead to the progress we want to see, but it is often very, very easy to just get caught up in the minutia, the boring, the tedious. So that's where it really pays to exercise patience. But that is obviously much easier said than done. So when it comes to being able to exercise that patience or being able to do better with patience, which is oftentimes one of the hardest parts of fitness, the only action step, there's only one, but the only action step is simply this: audit your expectations. And then kind of as a corollary, 1B, like if you need to, and it's entirely possible you might need to, if you need to, adjust them. When there's disappointment, when there's frustration, when there's discouragement, it is because our expectations are not being met. And that is true in fat loss, fitness, life. So audit and then adjust. Now I say audit because that sounds nerdy? No. So auditing your expectations is essentially just looking at what they are. Because usually when we're frustrated, discouraged, disappointed, our expectations aren't being met. There's some sort of gap. And so when we audit those expectations, we want to think about what our expectations are, where we're falling in comparison to that, and then see what the difference is, see if there's a way to maybe make up that difference, or potentially maybe our expectations are just unrealistic. So the first part of that audit of our expectations involves looking at what the expectations are. Now, sometimes we don't even have well-defined expectations, which really sets us up to feel disappointed and discouraged because all we're doing is thinking like it's not enough, but we don't even have a specific idea of what enough is, so it will never be enough if you don't have a definition of what enough is. And honestly, regardless of what's happening, regardless of how fast your progress is going, like you are enough, your efforts are enough. So like, I don't know, don't beat yourself up too much about the pace of things. Like do the best you can, roll with the results. Like this stuff takes time, this stuff is hard, patience, whatever. I'm getting away from the point. So when it comes to the action step, auditing your expectations, that first part is figuring out what specifically the expectations are. Then when you know what the expectations are, you can look at where they came from. Because maybe, and oftentimes, those expectations are just unrealistic. Maybe they're from a TV show, like maybe The Biggest Loser or My 600-Pound Life, where the expectations set in terms of what big weight loss is from a show like that, it's TV. It's going to be dramatic and it's going to be way more than the average person can expect from their program. It's entirely possible that we just have unrealistic expectations that we're holding ourselves to, which is not fair. Also, it's not uncommon to have expectations that are based in what happened before, which is also not very fair. Unless you're in the exact same position, the same age, the same lifestyle, the same responsibilities as you were to whatever time you're comparing it to, your current efforts to lose weight cannot match your former efforts to lose weight. That's just the way it is. Dynamic process of life. Things are always changing. You today is not like you from 5 years ago. So if you're comparing your progress now to your progress then, and you've got 2 kids and a job and you're stuck in quarantine or whatever, like things change. That's part of what life is. So it's an unfair comparison even to be like, well, the last time I did a program, I got better results than I'm getting now, so this one must not work. And like, I don't know, maybe this is a little harsh, but like if the first program worked, you wouldn't need the second one, right? Like results are only as good as they are lasting. So if the first program actually worked, you wouldn't need another one later on. So I don't know. Comparing your results to other people's results is a problem, but also comparing your results to your results from 5 years ago is a problem. We don't want to set those expectations based on a different reality. Once we've been able to figure out what our expectations are specifically and where those expectations come from and whether or not it's a productive source, then we're going to be able to kind of compare where our results are to the expectations and see if there's something we can do to bridge that gap. Sometimes maybe we can tighten up our nutrition a bit, eat more veggies, drink more water, get more sleep, put in a little bit more intensity in the gym. There are all sorts of ways to potentially bridge that gap if our results are not meeting the expectation. But it's also okay to just adjust the expectation. When it comes to fat loss, a lot of people will be disappointed, discouraged, and bummed after 1 week of not seeing huge numbers. Like, progress doesn't happen in a straight line. There are gonna be ups and downs. If the goal is to lose weight, you just want more downs than ups. And if that's what's happening, that's progress. If you're on, say, a 12-week program and you lose weight 9 out of those 12 weeks, that's success. Like, that's very, very good. And if over the course of those 12 weeks, you average 1 pound lost per week, even though some of those weeks you maybe held kind of steady, some of those weeks you kind of gained a little bit, like, if you've averaged a pound of weight lost per week during a weight loss plan, that's fantastic. No matter what happened in between, that's success, that's great. And holding yourself to an expectation beyond that is maybe unfair. And holding yourself to that expectation every single week is definitely unfair. Like, nobody bats 1,000. Like, a batting average in Major League Baseball is good if you're getting hits half the time. Like, my goodness. And you're expecting 100%? Come on now. Basically, you just want to go easier on yourself sometimes, or not even want to, you maybe need to. Sometimes expectations are set way too high, and if we hold ourselves to that expectation, we're going to be disappointed, frustrated, discouraged, and it's going to be impossible to be patient with ourselves during the painstakingly long process of progress. So exercise that patience, because that's often one of the hardest parts of fitness. Alright, so thanks for watching. As you've maybe noticed by now, this is actually a series where I dive into five of the things I say most often in my coaching. If I'm saying them in my coaching, the rest of the world could probably benefit from hearing it as well. That's why I wanted to create this series. I'm gonna drip them out one by one, and then I'm actually gonna put them all together in a more condensed kind of compilation style video as well. So, if you liked what I had to say today, one, go ahead and like it, like literally like the video, but also go ahead and share it with people that you think might also benefit from hearing these nuggets of truth that I share with the people that I coach to help them love food, be fit, and make progress. And then keep your eyes peeled for the next one. This was one part of 5 total, so make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're liking this stuff so you don't miss the next ones. Really appreciate you watching. I don't know, these are all things that I say so often in my coaching, and as such, I think they're things that need to be said more often in fitness at large. So I hope you were able to get something out of this. Feel free to share it with anyone and everyone and help people make the progress that is so elusive in this world of fitness.